Welcome to Married at First Sight, Season 11, Episode 7, The Honeymoon is Over, Part 2. So now our next couple is Karen and Miles. And Karen and Miles get to take a look at their new place and how they really like it. And, they're checking out everything. Karen is looking through the cabinets. Karen is still vibing on that energy of just being so emotionally detached. I mean, he made a comment about the laundry facilities and how he's excited, and she's looking at him like, who's folding clothes? And he was like, hey, I ain't got no problem folding clothes. And she was like, yeah, right. I mean, Karen, listen, I get it. You're guarded. But you got to cut Miles a break, okay? I mean, he's not, and I'm going to continue to mention this as I talk about Karen and Miles. Stop making him pay for the sins and errors of your previous relationship. That's not fair to him. That's not fair. I understand what has happened to you in the past, and you guys are going to discuss that whole thing with Pastor Cal, but you got to stop making him and penalizing him for the mistake of someone else. Okay? All right. So I'm really vibing off of the green. I mean, honestly, I'm shocked that they're actually wearing those shirts. I'm surprised Karen is, wearing the wifey hubby thing. Well, he's wearing the hubby thing and she's wearing the wifey shirt. I like those shirts. I even like the color. So I just had to throw that out there. I'm not usually a person that like green, but that particular shade of olive green, I really like that. It's very vibrant. So anywho, I digress. She was asking him about swimming. Hey, Miles, you want to go swimming? And he was like, yeah, if you want to go. And she was like, I'm not going swimming. I'm like, what are you doing? Are you trying to test this dude to see how he's going to respond and be a yes person every time you ask him? Okay, whatever, Karen. They go look in the guest room and she automatically claims it as her office. And he was saying, yeah, it might be the official doghouse. And Karen says, you're going to be in there a lot. Okay. And he was like, I'm going to be in there a lot. And I was just shaking my head on that one. She wants to see the football stress type of Miles. And I mean, even when, she was talking about her talking to his parents about how messy and how tidy he was, or not tidy, lack thereof. His parents was like, no, he's not tidy at all. So, I mean, she went over there looking for dirt, rubbing her fingers across his countertop. I mean, this is at their house now. I know I kind of rambled on past what their conversation was back at the new apartment. But she was checking for actual dust. And I don't know if she was joking or whether she was serious. Who knows? Because her conversation, she has one of those types of conversations where it's like you hide you hide a sarcasm through jokes. So I don't know. Anyway, yeah, she was very concerned about his tidiness. She was talking about all his stuff, and all the clothes that he had piled up in the corner. Listen, ladies, these were single guys before you met them. And I mean, they're going to live like bachelors. Now, I'm not saying all single guys live like what we've been seeing on the show, but there are single guys who have. And you got to come to expect that they weren't going to live like you expected them to before they even knew you existed, okay? Anywho, so, I mean, she was going through his stuff, talking about, all of his clothes, and he has a lot of shoes. And I'm like, okay, wait till we get to your house, Karen. You talking about his shoes? Yeah, okay, we'll see. But anywho, they're just basically trying to get in Karen's slow, methodical way, trying to get to know everything about her house now. I mean, his house and all the shoes that he has. And I mean, she was pretty shocked by that. And I'm like, I know a guy that has 300 pair of shoes. I honestly do. You think women have a lot of shoes? Men have a lot. There are some men that have a lot of shoes. I mean, he had 300 pair of sneakers. So yes, it's possible. Okay. Anywho, after her once going through his house and seeing what it's it was looking like he was getting kind of stressed, like, Karen, really, you giving me a hard time here, you're giving me a hard time. So now they're at her house, and again, Karen, I mean, her house all of these places look typical to, I mean, the houses that we saw that the couples are actually living in. So, I mean, her place is really cute and quaint. She did say something interesting. She says that it feels weird having Miles in her home. And, I get it. Okay. And she made him get off the carpet. She got a lot of shoes too. I mean, it's just interesting how when you throw judgment to people you really don't know yet, you're starting off on a bad foot. I mean, you really are. I mean, it's one thing to ask, hey, I see you got this over here, or I see you got that over there. It's interesting. Can you tell me more? Maybe that's the way to approach it. But to judge somebody, like we talked in a previous video with Olivia and Brett, it just doesn't start off on a good foot. A good foot. So, I mean, he seems really comfortable on that couch, and he really was like, yeah, this couch is comfortable. And Karen is like, no, that couch is really not that comfortable. And I'm like, okay, Karen, come on. If the guy said he's comfortable with the couch, he's comfortable with the couch. I know you're weirded out by him being there in your house, but is that your hospitality with a new guest at your home? I don't know. Anywho, one thing I will say about Miles, he took it in stride. He didn't build up a wall, kind of like what Brett would do. He's definitely taking Karen's responses. He's taking it in stride. I mean, he still tend to keep a smile on his face. I mean, sometimes you wonder if he's going to come back with something sarcastic, and he's like, nope, I'm good. Nah, that's how you want it? Fine. You want me to move? Fine. The couch is not comfortable? Fine. He's just so agreeable. There's many women out there that's saying, Karen, if you don't want them, I'll take them. So, I mean, Karen, you don't know what you got in front of you. I mean, you better get it together, girl. Because if you decide a decision day that you want a divorce, I guarantee there's a line around the block of waiting females who would want to be with Miles. And they will treat him exactly the way Miles should be treated. So, back to her house. They're looking in her closet, and she's tripping on his shoes. Look how many boxes of shoes she has. And I mean, she's like, oh, yeah, I got a lot of shoes. Yeah, but you were upset about him having so many shoes, and you just got as many shoes as he do. So, I mean, that's why you need to sometimes people in their judgments. Don't judge somebody when you got the same thing going on in your house. Okay, enough of my rant. So they're packing her stuff. And I mean, one thing that got me is, after the whole shoe conversation and him counting how many shoes that she has. Oh my God, that was so funny. And she was like, I can't believe you counting my shoes. Well, you were counting his shoes too. So Pastor Cal, oh, by the way, she snapped her fingers and told him to go get her stuff. I don't know about that, Karen. Anyway, Cal's visit. So Cal asked him, hey, you guys are now married. How does it feel? Do you feel like you're married? And Karen was like, well, yeah, we're apparently married, but no, I don't feel like we're married. And I'm like, but you are. And you signed up for the show to get married. She said, I still see him as a stranger and that we're in the twilight zone. Girl, you have already put this dude so far in the friend zone, yet at the same time, you got him massaging your feet. You got him doing all of this stuff, playing games with him, throwing these little remarks to him, and he's going with it. I mean, if you don't want to be here and you having problems with, why did you sign up for it? Why did you take the time, go to the meeting, sit in a group, get selected out of 1,000 or so more people, only to get here and you don't even want to open up. I'll just say that you don't want to open up to be married. Whereas Miles is like, I'm so attracted to her. When I'm with her, I feel like it's home. I feel safe. And then her response is, I don't know, PDA is weird. In order to give affection, I got to trust you because I'm in the fear of being hurt. Okay, let's just stop right there. Here's the thing. When it comes to being hurt, either you process that and heal from that hurt before moving into a relationship, or if you still chooses to move into a relationship and you still got a little reservation, don't make that person, the new person, pay the mistakes for somebody else. This man is going to be imprisoned by the mistakes of what your ex has done. And that's not fair to Miles. Miles is doing everything. He's committed to the process. He's committed to you. He's want to making you feel secure. And you're making him pay for the mistakes of what your ex did with. And she even mentioned that to Pastor Cal about the fact that I was with a guy for 4 years. I thought I was going to marry this guy. He went out and had a whole baby. Now, I can tell you, I don't think he did that overnight. There had to be signs. So whether she saw them, whether she didn't, and she chose to stay for whatever reason, because I know people have soul ties with people. That's a whole nother video. See R.C. Blake's about that on YouTube. But he talks all about soul ties. It's not easy pulling yourself away from somebody you love. So I'm not going to even say that. However, you cannot make Miles pay for that. Whatever choices you made in that relationship with that guy, you have to own that. The guy has to own his mistakes. That's not Miles' problem. It's not. And don't put that on him and make him responsible for that. If you're not ready, don't sign up for something like this. That's the bottom line. And Karen shouldn't have signed up when she hasn't completely healed from the damage that came from that relationship. That's the bottom line. Because what's going to happen, you're going to continue to treat Miles like what you feel for this ex. And eventually, Miles is going to resent you. Just like Pastor Cal says, you can only be agreeable for so long. And only be all in with a person that has a wall like this for so long before you say, okay, enough of this. I can't take it anymore. You're going to have a boiling point. And right now, Miles is accepting of everything, but Pastor Cal shared some wisdom. He dropped nuggets like, hey, this only can go on for so long. How long are you going to be able to deal with that? And even Pastor Cal gave him a question like, I'm okay with whatever she decides. What if you're okay with him not having sex? Of course, I'm not okay with that. Okay, then you're not okay with everything Karen dishes out, and you shouldn't be. So I'm glad Pastor Cal dropped that wisdom. So now let's move on to our final couple in our part 2 discussion, which is Henry and Christina. Christina is... they're now, getting ready to move in together, of course. Christina is not happy about the fact and can't understand why, her husband Henry hasn't made a move. Now, Henry is trying to understand the gravity of everything, but I don't think he's attracted to her, and we'll discuss that later when Pastor Cal comes over to visit. But she is very, very, very impatient. I understand feng shui. I totally get it. So I'm not going to knock her for that. But sometimes you got to kind of bring a person slowly into that instead of dictating And Henry is looking like, why are we moving furniture around? I mean, seriously, I just want to be comfortable. Okay. So they're in each other's house. Henry has a studio. He has a tiny apartment. And there was a question that came up that Henry got kind of confused about, which was, why can't we go and move her stuff? Because she said she got half of her stuff still in California. And he remembered back at the wedding that, she was living in New Orleans. So what is she talking about? So that kind of is a red flag for him, and I don't know. But anywho, Christina was thinking that his place was kind of a he's a minimalist. He's living with the perfect minimum. There's too much of nothing in his place. And, her stuff is packed in the car and they head back to the apartment that the couples were given. So she wants to get rid of all of the pillows in the house. She says she's not patient and she likes to get things done. And, excuse me, with Henry, he tends to move a little bit slower. They had this whole thing. I don't understand the thing about the pillows. I mean, I do understand the feng shui thing, but, Henry is looking like, are you serious? We're talking about throwing out pillows that the show is paid for. I don't understand that whole thing. I mean, why did they even put these two couples together? And Pastor Cal even warned Dr. Pepper, because this is Dr. Pepper's baby right here. Henry and Christina, if you go back and look at the matchmaking show, Christina and Henry is Dr. Pepper's baby. And Pastor Cal told her, these are two passive individuals. They want people in their lives that's going to be the aggressor. And here we go. Here's her science project. Is it working, Dr. Pepper? To me, and we don't know because there are more episodes to come, I doubt it. So they were joking about Henry having parties in the house. And she was looking at him like, parties? And he was like, yeah, I probably have a party when you're in town and when you're not in town. And she was like, am I invited to these parties? And he was like, oh, yeah. Of course, when you're home, of course you're invited to these parties. And Christina's like, Henry actually having a party? Yeah, I don't believe that. You don't know. There's a lot of things that surprised you, Christina, about Henry on the honeymoon. So who's to say that he doesn't have parties in his studio apartment? I mean, seriously. Okay. So, I mean, again, this was a match to me that should not have been put together. I mean, honestly, Christina wants a man who is aggressive. And I don't mean negatively. She wants a man that's going to be assertive. Henry is not assertive. So Pastor Cal comes to visit. And, they're glad to see him. I'm glad that Pastor Cal actually made his rounds with the couple to actually sit down and have a conversation, to have the talks that some of these couples wasn't having with each other. Henry, Christina, Olivia, and Brett, okay? So anyway, Pastor Cal says, so how is it with Henry? And Christina is like, Henry is in the friend zone. And Henry is like, marriage is unorthodox, but it could be worse. Oh my. And Pastor Cal's expression is priceless. I mean, Christina did give him a little bit of a kudos when she said, I see glimpses of Henry and it's awesome, but he's not aggressive. And she wants someone to say, hey, I think you're the most beautiful person in the world, and then we'll date for 5 years. And Christina, that's not Henry. Now, listen, it's not like Christina chose him and she continually to date him. This is somebody that she was matched with. And so I get it. I get her feeling. She likes, maybe her love language is words of affirmation. Who knows? Maybe her second love language is physical touch. However, her attitude in some cases is a little off-standing. But She want a guy that's more assertive, and that's just not Henry. It's just not. And Dr. Pepper, being a doctor, should have known that. I mean, when you got Pastor Cal saying, no, I don't think so, these are two passive individuals, it manifested itself in these two being together. It's just not there. Pastor Cal asked him, tell me what your relationships, Henry, look like in the past. Did they move slow? Did they move fast? And Henry was like, I have some relationships that move fast depending on the person. And Pastor Cal was like, well, what made you move faster with those particular people? And he was like, it was the chemistry that existed. And Pastor Cal asked him, well, what is it about Christina that it's moving slower? And he called it. He finally opened his mouth and said, I'm seeing things in Christina. She's impatient, and I see her as high maintenance. Pastor Cal said, okay, well, have you guys talked about finances? Have you guys talked about kids? And, he was like, they were like, nope. We ain't even had physical touch. Seriously. He wants her to be more assertive. Henry's not that. Henry, I think, is looking for somebody to bring something out of him. That's not Christina. What Christina brings out of him is annoyance, because he's annoyed with how impatient she can be. And she knows it. She's admitted it several times on camera that she's an impatient person. Pastor Cal continues to talk to them and basically tells Henry, even though, you see these things in her, there might be, she's the diva type. She took that and she loved that compliment. She was like, oh yeah, I'm a diva. So we'll see what happens with these guys. So like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.